boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Robert Sports Show. I'm your host, Robert. Alright, as we get ready for NXT TakeOver Portland, I thought it was a great time to take a look at the best of NXT TakeOvers. Portland will be the 28th TakeOver in NXT history. Of the previous 27, there have been 141 matches, 109 men matches, 32 women's matches, 82 title matches. So we're going to look at the best of the best. These are going to be the top 13 women's matches. I go 13 because they're all 4-star or above. The top 12 tag team matches, they're all 4-star or above. On the men's side, we're looking at the top 15 matches. They're all 4 3/4 star and above, with 7 5-star matches. All these ratings have been done by yours truly. As I've watched NXT, I've watched every single one of these takeovers. I've rated all the matches. So, we're going to get started with the best women's matches. Like I said, 13 of them, all 4-star or above. The first 6 are all 4-star. Number 13 comes from TakeOver London. It was a singles match involving Asuka. No one was ready for Asuka. Versus Emma. Asuka getting the victory. 4-star match. Number 12 comes from NXT Unstoppable. It was the NXT Women's title on the line. We had champion Sasha Banks versus the band Becky Lynch. Then she was just Becky Lynch. Sasha getting the retain there. 4-star classic. Number 11 come from TakeOver Revival. It was a fatal 4-way for the NXT Women's title. It was all 4 of the 4 horsewomen. Sasha Banks, Bayley, Becky Lynch, and the champion, the Queen, Charlotte Flair. Sasha getting her first NXT Women's title reign here. 4-star classic. From TakeOver, the very first TakeOver, we had a vacated NXT Women's Championship, where Paige had vacated it when she moved to the main roster. We had Charlotte Flair with her daddy Rick in the corner versus Natalya, Natty Neidhart with her uncle Brett in the corner. Charlotte Flair defeating Natalya to become NXT Women's Champion. Number 9 comes from NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. NXT Women's Championship on the line. Champion Asuka versus Bayley. Bayley wasn't ready for Asuka. Asuka retained her title. 4-star match. Number 8 on the list comes from Toronto 2. It was a women's singles match. Io Shirai versus Candice LeRae. Io Shirai winning the match in a 4-star classic. Next up, number 7 on the list comes from War Games. Number 3, we had the first ever War Games women's match. We had the team of Rhea Ripley, Candice LeRae, Tegan Nox, Dakota Kai versus Shayna Baszler, Bianca Belair, Io Shirai, and Kaylee Ray. As we all know, Tegan Nox got taken out by Dakota Kai. It was a 4-on-2 handicap match at that point. Rhea Ripley, Candice LeRae ended up winning the match. I gave it 4 1/4. We took a talented woman in Rhea Ripley, where the vast majority of the pro wrestling fan base thought she was here. We put her here. By that there. And we get a Tegan Nox Dakota Kai feud out of it as well. What War Games paid off. 4 1/4-star match on that one, with Rhea and Candice getting the victory. Number 6 on the list, TakeOver Respect. 30-minute Iron Woman match, NXT Women's title on the line, champion Bayley versus Sasha Banks. Bayley getting the victory, retaining her title, 4 1/4-star match. TakeOver Orlando, NXT Women's title on the line, champion Asuka versus Ember Moon. Unfortunately, as great as the Ember Moon Asuka matches was, Ember was never ready for Asuka. Asuka getting the victory in a 4 1/4-star match. Remember those names, they will come back. Next up, number 4 on the list, Brooklyn 4. Ironic there. NXT Women's title on the line, we had champion Shayna Baszler versus Kairi Sane. This was a rematch from the Mae Young Classic, where Kairi Sane won. We had champion Shayna Baszler tapping out Kairi Sane in a 4 1/4-star match. Number 3 on the list comes from a fatal 4-way women's match from TakeOver New York, which was WrestleMania weekend last year. We had champion Shayna Baszler versus Bianca Belair versus Io Shirai versus Kairi Sane. Shayna Baszler ended up getting the victory. I gave it 4.25 star. Now, like I said, at number 5, number 2, Brooklyn 3, NXT TakeOver Women's Title Match. Champion Asuka versus Ember Moon. These two had a feud. Whew, great matches. 2 4.25 star matches. Asuka winning them both. Ember Moon, I can't wait till she gets back from injury. I'm hoping they get her pushed to the moon where she should be at. She's one of the top women's wrestlers on the roster. And the best women's match in NXT TakeOver history. TakeOver Brooklyn 1. NXT Women's title, we had Bayley versus Sasha Banks. Bayley became an NXT Women's Champion. I give it 4.5 star. Now we're going to run down the 12 4-star tag team matches. Some for the tag titles, some not. Actually, you know what? They're all for the tag titles. Number 12 comes from TakeOver Dallas. We had American Alpha versus The Revival. American Alpha, Jason Jordan, Chad Gable, winning the NXT Tag Team Championships over The Revival. I gave it 4 star. Number 10 comes from TakeOver The End. We had the champions, American Alpha, versus The Revival. The Revival becoming Tag Team Champions and beating the American Alpha in a 4-star match. Number 10 comes from TakeOver San Antonio. We had AOP challenging champions DIY, Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, AOP becoming tag team champions. This is when they won the titles right after winning the Dusty Rhodes Classic. TakeOver Orlando. We had a triple threat tag title match. We had former champions The Revival versus the former champions DIY versus the current champions AOP. Authors of Pain. AOP got the victory there in a 4.25 star match. Next up, number 8 from TakeOver 25 in a ladder match for the Tag Team Championships. We had the teams of Street Profits, the Forgotten Sons, Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch, and of course the Undisputed Era. The titles were vacated when the Viking Raiders moved to the main roster. The Street Profits became Tag Team Champions before losing the titles when they moved to the main roster. Number 7 comes from TakeOver Toronto 2. We had the champions, the Street Profits, versus the Undisputed Era. Street Profits retaining their titles in a 4.25 star match. Next up comes from TakeOver Chicago in a ladder match for the tag titles. We had champion AOP versus DIY. AOP climbing the ladder, retaining their tag team championships. We all know history that came out of this. We had Tommaso Ciampa turning on Johnny Gargano and causing a year-long feud between those two with some of the greatest matches in NXT TakeOver history. Are we going to see it again? Will Gargano turn on Ciampa this time and blow DIY up and have some of the greatest matches in history? Only time will tell. Next up, we had number 5, Brooklyn 2 for the tag titles. We had champions The Revival versus DIY. 4.5 star match. The Revival getting the victory. The ladder match I also gave 4.5 too. Number 4 comes from TakeOver Toronto. It was a 2 out of 3 falls match. Champions The Revival versus DIY. DIY winning the 2 out of 3 falls match in a 4.5 star classic. Become champions. TakeOver Orlando 2. AOP versus The Revival. AOP retaining the titles. 4.5 star. Now, the 2 best matches in NXT TakeOver history both came in 2019. Number 2, TakeOver Phoenix. Tag titles on the line. The champions, the Undisputed Era, versus the Viking Raiders. Viking Raiders becoming champions, 4.75 star. Number 1, TakeOver New York. Tag titles on the line. We had the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic winners, Ricochet and Aleister Black, versus the War Raiders. The War Raiders retained their tag titles, 4.75 star match as well. 2 of the greatest tag matches of 2019 with the War Raiders. Now, as we run down the 15 best men's matches, These are going to be singles matches and triple threats, and I even got the War Games match in here. So. Number 15, War Games 2, the Women's War Game match. The Undisputed Era. Adam Cole, bye-bye. Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong versus B. Dunn, Ricochet, and the Viking Raiders, or the War Raiders then. Dunn and Ricochet, the War Raiders, getting the victory. 4 3/4 star. Number 14 comes from TakeOver or Evolution. NXT title on the line. We had title versus career. We had Sami Zayn put his NXT career on the line versus Neville's championship. Sami Zayn ended up winning the championship and keeping his career. I give it 4 3/4 star. Number 13 come from Philadelphia. It was a men's singles match and Extreme Rules. We had Aleister Black. He picked a fight with Adam Cole. Aleister got the win. 4 3/4 star later. One of the greatest matches in the history of TakeOver. Number 12 comes from TakeOver. Our War Games number 2. NXT title on the line. We had champion Tommaso Ciampa versus the Velveteen Dream. Wow, what a match this was. Ciampa retaining his title. I gave it 4 3/4. At one point in time, I thought Velveteen was winning this. I was not a Velveteen Dream fan until he feuded with Aleister Black, and then he feuded with Ciampa here, and it's like, holy shit, this dude is uber fucking talented. Watch out for Velveteen Dream. Number 11. Kind of partial to this one, I was there live. TakeOver New Orleans. The first ever North American Championship match in a ladder match. We had Adam Cole, bye-bye, versus EC3 versus Killian Dane versus Lars Sullivan versus Ricochet versus Velveteen Dream. Adam Cole becoming the first ever North American champion. 4 3/4 star match. The only thing that kept me from getting this match 5 star was in the middle of the match, we had Lars Sullivan and Killian Dane in the ring. Everybody else was kind of laying on the outside. And it was kind of almost a lull dead point there. It wasn't go, 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 go. If it wasn't for that little lull dead point, I would give it 5. I rewatched it when I got home. It was just as good on live as it was on TV. Number 10 on the list comes from Chicago 2. It's a street fight. And it's that damn feud we had. I'm telling you, DIY breaking up is the greatest thing that happened. We had Tommaso Ciampa versus Johnny Gargano. Ciampa winning the street fight in a 4 3/4 star match. TakeOver Chicago, number 9 on the list. The WWE United Kingdom Championship. We had champion Tyler Bate, big strong boy, defending the title versus Pete Dunne. That was just unbelievable, that match. Pete Dunne getting a victory. I gave it 4 3/4 star. I want to see a rematch. I would love to see a rematch of that. Number 8 on the list comes from NXT TakeOver Toronto 2. We had a 2 out of 3 falls for the NXT Championship. We had champion Adam Cole, bye-bye, versus Johnny Gargano. Cole getting the victory. I ended up giving it 4 3/4 star. The next 7 are all 5-star matches. Now, number 7, NXT TakeOver Phoenix. Champion Tommaso Ciampa versus Aleister Black. I gave it 5 star. One of my favorite matches of all time. A lot of people online I've seen anywhere from 4 to 5 star rated on this match. Somebody that I hold high regards and what their rating system when it comes to professional wrestling said 4. Okay, maybe I overrated it. I rewatched it. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I'm still sticking with my 5. I mean, I'm all good with that. So if you gave it 4, you give it 4.5. You give it 5. That's up to you. That's the cool thing about professional wrestling. One person's opinion isn't law. Wrestling is 85% opinion based. You could have 4 people with 4 different opinions. No one's right, no one's wrong. The only thing that matters at the end of the day is Tommaso Ciampa beat Aleister Black, and it was a great match. Number 6 on the list from TakeOver Phoenix for the North American title, we had champion Ricochet versus Johnny Gargano, Johnny Wrestling. I gave that one as well 5-star match. Number 5 on the list from Brooklyn 4, NXT title on the line, last man standing. We had champion Tommaso Ciampa versus Johnny Gargano. Ciampa retaining his title and the last man standing in a 5-star match. Number 4 on the list come from TakeOver New Orleans. It was an unsanctioned match. Again, as they're live, I'm a little partial to this one. This was the first of the series of matches between Gargano and Ciampa. This is the match that started it all after both of them came back from injury. We had Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa, unsanctioned. Gargano getting the victory. Next up, number 3, TakeOver Philadelphia. The first match I ever gave 5-star 2. NXT Championship on the line. Champion Andrade on the Cien Almas. Bring back the name. I hate just Andrade. It's Andrade Cien Almas. Versus Johnny Gargano. Oh my God. I don't even what to say. This match was just so... Just had you on the seat of your pants going... I never gave it... I mean, as soon as the match was over, as soon as Andrade got the 1, 2, 3, I just went 5-star. I mean, that was the first match I ever gave 5 to. Next up, we have number 2, TakeOver New York. 2 out of 3 falls. NXT title on the line. Champion Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole. Baby! Johnny Gargano retaining his title here. 5-star classic. And what I think is the best match in NXT TakeOver history compared to every other match that's ever happened. This is the best one. This is numero uno, WrestleMania 25. NXT TakeOver 25. Champion Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole. Adam Cole winning the NXT Championship. 5-star. I will not go above 5. I've seen some 5.5s on this one. No. 0 to 5. That's the rating. But yeah, this is probably one of the greatest matches ever. Now, if you look at this, how many Johnny Gargano matches are there in the top 15? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The top 6 involve Johnny Gargano. 7, 8. There's 8 Gargano matches. How many Adam Cole matches? 1, 2, 3. 5 Adam Cole matches. How many Tommaso Ciampa matches? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. So yeah, those are some of the best performers in NXT. Tommaso Ciampa has already said publicly that if he got moved up to Raw or SmackDown, he retires. I love that. I want him NXT forever. Yeah, NXT TakeOver Portland is going to be good. We have Ciampa and Cole. We know what Gargano and Cole was. We know what Cole and Gargano were. Or Ciampa and Gargano and Cole and Gargano. Now we get Ciampa Cole. I'm all in. I think it's going to be great. Dijakovic and Keith Lee will be freaking awesome. Shayna and Bianca Belair. I mean, Tegan Knox and Dakota Kai. Is there a bad match on this card at all? I mean, come on. Alright, so that is going to be the best of NXT TakeOver. Make sure you stay tuned to Robert Sports Show for NXT TakeOver preview. Make sure you check out the XFL preview. Make sure you check out anything pro wrestling coming up here between now and on the road to WrestleMania. I'll have some best of Saudi shows. I'll have the best of AEW leading up to the AEW Revolution show. I will have obviously the best of Chamber, and then we'll have the best of WrestleMania. A lot to go on that one. A lot of big plans for the road to WrestleMania here on Robert Sports Show. As always, make sure you check everything out. Thanks for watching Robert Sports Show. Don't just have a great day. Have a spiffy day. Robert Sports Show, your YouTube leader in sports sound content.